Welcome back to Colbreth Mini Projects. Today, we're looking at can lights, and can lights seem to be the wave of the future, especially in new homes. Our house isn't that old, and you can see above me, we've got can lights in here. When they built this house, it surprised me. We call them can lights because they're actually kind of like a can that goes up in the attic space or right above the drywall. It nails in and then you screw bulbs in. Well, now what can lights look like is really this recessed lighting, and it's a very flat, low profile light. Now, this light has a black rim around it because this is one we were using in our basement, and I'll show you what we did there. But what do you do with one of these lights when you don't have a drywall ceiling? Well, I'll show you what we did. Here's an example of one of the can lights I was talking about. This one's been painted black because we painted our whole ceiling black. These were put in by the builders. This can itself, you can buy them in bulk for $10, $12 a piece. Then you've actually got to buy this insert, and then you got to actually put a bulb in it. So the money starts stacking up on these, and I don't know if that ends up being $15 to $20 per light. But if you're putting 30 lights or whatever you're putting in your basement or across a big area, that can really get expensive quickly. Here's an example of one of our lights actually installed. Now, you can do this one of two ways. You can pull your measurement if you're attaching this board to the bottom. Basically what I did was I took a piece of plywood and I said, I will cut this in between my eye joists. So this is not even nailed down, it's actually loose. But I cut it so it'd fit and sit on the flanges of the eye joist. If you had like 2x12s or 2x10s for floor joists, then you'd probably want to either screw it in between, or you could screw it just up through the bottom. And you could get this board. Once you get this board, you cut a hole, and then you just put these can lights in, and these tabs just fold up, and it would go up in the hole, and then the tabs fold down and grab your plywood. So it's that simple. Most of these lights have different ratings on them. They have dim modes. They're dimmable, but they also have some that just switch on and they're bright, and then they go to dim. Most of them actually go from that bright blue, whitish, all the way to the warm light. So there's different variations, and it's just a little box that I just set up here on top of this framing and then just painted over it. And then I just took this plug and plugged them in, and we're good to go. And if we ever needed to replace one, we could just unplug it. Now, what you're looking at here is a little bit different one. We're going to put some lights in at my uncle's house. And these I actually bought with black flanges on them so that they would kind of hide a little bit when they're up in the ceiling. These lights actually have a kind of a movie theater dimmer and brightness. But either way, I'm going to show you how to do that. In his case, we measured the outside of the joists. The joists are 16 inches on center, which means that the board themselves has to be 1.5 inches wider, so it'll be 17.5. Because if you're on center, you got to go 3/4 more each way. So it'll be 17.5 boxes. We're going to get those cut. I'll show you how I drilled them out. In our basement, we've got, I don't know, it was like 30 lights, so it was a ton of them. So I'll show you how I built a process for that, and I'll show you the drill bit we used. This is the electrical box that they use. So this just opens up. There's a simple black wire for your hot, you got your white for your neutral, and you got your green for your ground. They come with, most of these that I've seen, they come with connectors. I prefer to use the wire nuts, but you can use these little connectors they give you. You would just take your screwdriver, pop one of these punch outs out, and then they actually have connectors that you can tie in and run your Romex right into it, okay? Or conduit or whatever you decide to use. I know there's going to be a professional electrician out there that's going to somehow have better ideas than me. So leave your comments and those electricians can maybe give some advice. But once that's in place, here's the dial when I said that those could change. So this, you can click on these. I'm just looking here. Okay. So I don't know if these are lumens, 27, 3000, 3500, 4000, and 5000, but that's the variation of the light that you'll get. So you can actually wire these, put your, I'm saying your box, but it really is just your flat piece of plywood in place. And then you just line up these grooves on these prongs so that you don't bend the prongs. And then you just screw this together. I can pull that apart again so you can see here. There's a little groove on the inside of this one and on the outside of this one. You line those up. Okay. And then you just screw this together. And that's all there is to it up there. So let's go make our plywood, I'm going to call them plywood boxes. We're out here in the barn. I've got all of these cut, and you can see this is just some scrap plywood, nothing too fancy, and I've cut all these at 17.5 inches. And that will allow me to overlap his floor joists like we want, okay? In a second, we'll drill these, but in order to drill them, I will tell you what, the hole saw that you need to use is this guy right here. So I bought this when I did my own lights. Oops, where's my tape measure? Just to give you an idea of how wide this is exactly 6 inches, okay, outside to outside. That's what that's gonna cut. They gave us this template. So I just poked a hole in here just to see, and boy, that just matches up really nicely. So that's the perfect size for the lights that they're asking you to use. When you put this hole saw into a piece of plywood, though, stuff's going to start spinning like it's crazy. So we need to build a box to be able to hold these, at least hold them still. Now, if I was drilling 2 of these, I might screw them down to something and then drill the hole. If it was only 1 or 2, I might even put them on in the ceiling themselves and just drill up. But since we're doing 8 of these boxes, I just want to knock it out pretty quick. So I have 2 boards here. I don't need to, these are all just pre-cuts. They were laying around out here. I'll just use both of these. And what I know is I need to space them not just 17.5 inches apart, but probably 18. I'm going to give myself a 1/4 inch of play on each side. So I'll go ahead and mark these. I will screw them in between. I'm going to make marks. I'm going to make marks on these boards at 17.5 inches. Whoops, excuse me, I want to go 18 inches. So I'll make a mark here, and I'll make a mark at 18, okay? And then what we'll do is we'll put these 2 together, and we'll square these across. And now all I need to do is cut to fit my boards on the inside, and they'll go right between these 2 boards. Now I have a short one here. I'll use this up first. We'll go from there. I've got this box made, and it is 18 inches by 18 inches on the inside. So I can just set these, right inside. See that? And now I can drill through these, and I can stack several so that each one, as I drill through with this hole saw, it marks the next hole, the next hole, the next hole. So the only thing I don't want to do is finish by drilling through my trailer. So I'm going to shim this box up slightly, and I can do that by setting that extra board under there and setting this board underneath here. And that's truthfully maybe all we need. So I'm going to set a few of these in here. I'm going to need a little bit more support. So we'll just set these in here. That gives us nice support so I don't drill through my trailer. And then I can lay these down one after the other. Now, depending on what you're doing, I'm going to center all these holes. You could potentially offset them a little bit, and then you could flip your box one way or the other when you're in your basement if you want to offset them a little bit. For what we're doing for my uncle, I really think centered is going to be fine. We took a good look at the project before we started. So I've got all these pretty well centered up. So now I'm going to come in here. Anybody know what half of 17.5 is? Looks like 9 inches. 8 3/4. So let's go 8 3/4. And then we'll come back from this side. We'll go 8 3/4. It looks good to me there. I'll mark 8 3/4 this way. All right. And that is dead center of that box. All righty. Now we'll put this beast on here. And just be careful with this. This is a monster. My dad would call this a man-eater. I think I got it just about set. Now what I'm trying to do, there's these I just use these side holes to kind of see where my bit is, but I set that bit right on the X. I don't know if you guys can see that with the video. But you set that right on there, and then you start drilling. Now, as soon as this thing grabs, it is going to jerk. Woo! See that? Just wham! So, old Ken's going to get up here. All I do is I step on this thing, and I let that drill hit the back of my leg. Okay? I can already feel the clutch hitting, so turn that down a little bit. Woo. Let's see if she'll eat. Man. So I've been fighting this, trying to get through this. I turn the clutch completely off, and it just grabs, and then it kicks out, and I can actually feel the seam of the gun opening in my hand, like it's wanting to break my gun in half because my leg's holding the battery. So I turn the clutch up so that it just stops. It doesn't just jerk and rip. And I'm able to drill through these a lot easier because I thought, man, I've done this before. Why is this so hard? So you'll see it'll go, it'll stop, it'll go, it'll stop, but it's not kicking out on me anymore. And it seems to be working a lot better. So, and this way you can kind of run it faster and just very, very light pressure. Yeah, we got our first plug out. We're gonna see what I got in my tool belt to maybe knock this out. There we go. I'm gonna use these. I don't know if they're sight holes or cooling holes, but that's one. I'll get into the next one here. All right. Okay. We're getting down to our last ones here. And these are cutting out nice and clean, centered, look good. I'm literally on my last one. And so once you get to your bottom one, this saw will make a cut here. And if you want the cleanest cut, actually flip this board over, put your drill bit in the center of this and cut from the other direction. That'll make a cleaner cut. We're almost there. I will say this. We definitely learned that you want to use the clutch on this, because if you don't use the clutch, it's going to keep popping out of that hole and just beat you silly. So about wore me out just doing that. But once I remembered what I did on the last project, this actually, it's not easy, but if you're patient, it's not that hard. That's it. Be careful, because this saw blade, this whole saw blade gets real hot. And just get you something like a punch. In this case, I've got a long screw. Just stick it in there, pop these out. And we are we are all set. So you take this. This is basically our light box, we're going to call it. And I will try to demonstrate this. But we're going to go ahead. Let's see. Can I do this? Yeah, bring that camera around here. See if we can do this. But you're basically going to stick your wire through there. And I'm going to have to come around the back side and pull on this. I'm going to stick one in, pull this other tab, and they just lock in place. So that's what that looks like. And this will all be painted black naturally. And here's what it looks like from the top side. So all this will be hidden. You have a spot up here where you can actually put your little metal box that's got the, man, I forgot what they call that thing. There's a word for it. But anyways, I'll just say the electrical connection can sit up here and you don't see it from down below. And these springs, it's nothing to just reach up here and you just pull this out. And you really don't want to break this because it's brand new. But yeah, it's as simple as, yeah, just helping these clips let go. It's that simple. And you can reach up between the rafter and do that from the backside. Hope this helps you. Thanks for watching. Remember to like, share this video, and hit those notifications for more videos. Thank you.